Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our special webinar we're having this morning with James Hogan from OptionVue. He's going to be discussing OptionVue 8.0. Welcome, James.
Thanks, John. Good to be here.
Would you like me to just come in and let you share your desktop?
Yeah, I'm going to share my my OptionVue, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, great. So I have just made you presenter, and you should be able to do your sharing from there.
Okay, let me know when you can see my screen, okay?
I can see it. It looks fantastic.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I know a lot of your users or subscribers have OptionVue already, so I'm going to kind of go into, more of an advanced thing. I actually, before I got on this webinar, took a couple calls from your subscribers. One person was asking about back testing. And so I kind of jump into there a little bit and just kind of address some of the new guys that might be coming in and doing some of the education and needing to do back testing. One of the important things to do, OptionVue does some really nice tracking of your back testing. And one of the things I like to tell people right away to do when they go back in time in BackTrader is to make sure they have the status window open. Just kind of make it a habit to open up the status window, and then you can, once it's up, you could minimize it so that it's not taking up the whole screen, and that's just down kind of behind the scenes. And what it's doing is every time you're moving through a time in BackTrader, status is taking a snapshot every time you go to the next half an hour or next day or whatever, and it's making kind of like a data point of where you are in your trade. So that's kind of a good tip to have there to know to do that. And you can always, once they have status open, you can just minimize it like that, and it's sitting down there behind the scenes. Okay. One of the good reasons to do that is then when you go to reports, you're going to have all of your trades and listed out properly. So someone was calling me up and saying that they were doing back testing, and what they were doing is they were exporting, once they had a campaign on for one expiration, they were exporting all of that transaction history from the T-log into an Excel file. I mean, you can do that and all, but OptionVue is really nice in that it allows you, if you keep all your whole campaign of backtesting together through how many years, you can then come in here and say, I want to look at my RUT position or my SPX position or whatever from this date to this date, and now you can see, clearly, I'm just looking at March 16 to October 27th, you can see it's going to show you what your gain loss is, all of your trades here. Okay, so go ahead, you had something to say, John?
Well, I'm just saying, with that, is that because you opened the status window, so you'd have to have the status window open in order to do that, or?
Well, one of the reasons I like to have a status window open, no, you don't necessarily have to do that, but what really works out, as you can see here, when I put these trades on, I didn't have the status window open. So if you have the status window open, you're opening up day to day, you're going to see, all the little tiny data points from each particular moment in time that you had that status window open.
Okay, and it'll record that information, so if I come back a week later, I can see it?
Yeah, exactly right, yeah. So, I mean, whenever I put a trade on, and I put a trade on, just for demonstration purposes, I'll put a trade on a back trade, and then I'll jump forward 3 weeks. And, even if it's got the 3 weeks would just be a straight line like this, because I started it and then moved forward so fast and then opened it again. So, whereas if you have the status window open and you're moving through time and making adjustments, it's going to collect all the different, even intraday, movements in your position and be able to create a nice graph for you like this.
Right, so it'll kind of include your drawdowns intra-trade, during the trade, and your profits during the trade as well.
Exactly right.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of important. I try to tell people that right away to do the status window. I wish that maybe that's something they can do in the future is automatically have that running status window always running behind in the background, but currently it does not. So you're going to want to make sure whatever you're doing back testing, it's just always a good habit to get into, regardless of what you're doing, is to open the status window and just drop it down and minimize it. The other thing that's kind of new with OptionVue 8 is they've kind of moved some things around. So we've in this new ribbon style here, and a lot of the, used to have the drop downs in OptionVue 7, and so some things are kind of moved around a little bit. This little button here is important because if you click on it over here, you're going to see a lot of things that, you were able to see under, I believe it was the Edit tab before. So if you wanted to look up a symbol, you could do that here, inserting a row, deleting row, or inserting columns. So these are your columns, these would be your rows. And then if you also wanted to, had a watch list of some different underlines you were looking at, you could copy them from Excel, and then you would just, highlight wherever you wanted them to be dropped into, and then you could paste the symbols there that way. Okay, so that's a little kind of hidden button there. The other thing too is we had somebody call in and say, when I open up a matrix, what was I think I was doing something in the Russell with this account. When I open up a matrix, I want to be able to see more of the matrix and get rid of this big section up here. Well, you can do that. All you have to do is, and this is another kind of little secret here, is that you have to right-click on this title bar kind of up here where it says OptionVue 8. You right-click there. This is where you can, minimize OptionVue, tile or cascade the windows. If your quotes display is hidden, you can quickly click on that to get back to any window that you have open behind the scenes, and that's by just right-clicking up here. Okay, so if you wanted to hide the ribbon menu here, that just kind of makes the whole matrix bigger, and if you're doing side-by-side or graphic analysis, that just kind of opens it up a little bit, and then you can always bring that back again.
Okay. Two just quick questions, if you have a minute, if you don't mind being interrupted.
No, not at all.
So with the status window thing, does it work when you're not in backtester?
Absolutely.
Okay, super.
Yeah,
okay, super.
yeah. So just as a general rule, I've been trying to tell people just make it a habit when you open up OptionVue, just open up status and minimize it, drop it behind the scenes, and that way it's always just making little data points in your records folder basically.
Okay, great. And the other one, I guess, is just a comment here. It just says far upper left icon to get back to the quotes display dialog if it's not being displayed.
I'm sorry.
It just says far upper left icon. Use that to get back to the quotes dialog if the quotes dialog is not being displayed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, those are the two kind of things I want to touch on first there that we did. Those kind of two little secret buttons there. Let's close this here. So this is new as well. Backtrader, the little Backtrader window here was not permanently fixed here. You used to have to go and go to NetView and then pull up Backtrader. We've gotten some people that say, I don't like seeing that Backtrader there. Well, that's fine. I mean, we're going to go to some settings here. And what you want to do, if you want to stay on one of these tabs, you want to double click it, because if you don't double click it, let me go over here. If you don't double click it and say I'm clicking on settings here and then I go to default models and then I hit OK, it goes automatically back to home. If you want to stay on settings, just double click it, and now if you click on default models and I go OK, it's going to stay on settings. Okay, so if you don't double click these tabs, it automatically goes back to the home tab. Okay, so while we're on settings, I want to talk about this. There's a lot of new stuff in here recently under the preference tab. Okay, here is right away when you get back, right when you open up preferences, it says have the Backtrader panel in view at all times. So if you don't like that, you could just unclick that, it'll be gone, and then when you go to tools, it'll be there as is it home? Yeah, it would show up under home where you could come and go into Backtrader if you didn't have it selected there at all points in time. So, but let's go back to settings again and then preferences. So I usually recommend store to existing asset files, especially if you're backtesting. Basically what this means is if you're defining your Russell matrix to have this certain amount of strikes or even more strikes than are showing up with the settings set to large already, it's going to keep any settings that you change. So that's why I always recommend using store to existing asset files here. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's great.
As far as let's see what else is new. This is another big one. A lot of new stuff going on here. Okay, this is where you would go to if you want to see dates in your graphic analysis instead of T plus, today plus, whatever day in the future. I prefer dates. Now, this stuff is kind of new. So what happened was some people are doing diagonals or calendars or wanting to look at a couple different maybe butterflies or condors together. And what it does is if you're looking at that entire position together, you would have to set a date past the first expiration, and then it's going to say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Your projecting past the nearest position's expiration. So this is where you can, auto project to the
Right.
farthest that we wanted to.
That's a fantastic thing because that was really a pain in the neck before. So that's a
Yeah.
great improvement.
Yeah, and there's actually, I'll go ahead and jump in there with the new enhancement that's coming out next month is there's going to be a way to also block out certain expirations. There's going to be a new approach to blocking out certain expirations that you're not interested in. That way, it's going to be easier because everyone's always fighting with the amount of symbols and
Mm-hmm.
how slow it has to load a Russell matrix if you have it defined huge. Even if you're using already at a quote view, you've got that 1,000 or 2,000 symbol limit. It'll start flashing on you. Well, he's got a new approach coming up to where I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, but where you're going to be able to, maybe just click, couple clicks, and you can eliminate those expirations without having to go into the, define and really start deleting things. So we're looking forward to that as well. Okay.
Okay, that's great.
Yep. So these are some other things here. I mean, a lot of people, like to have the T+0 line snap to the gram dot, which is, basically where you really are. When you look at the graphic analysis, everything there is theoretical based on the modeling, except for the gram dot. The gram dot is coming from the matrix, and that's, the real live position is what that dot's showing. So auto refresh default by 5 seconds. This is a newer feature as well. And basically what that is you're going to open up the matrix here, make sure the matrix is restored down, and you can restore it down by this button right here, and then position it. And then you'll do your side by side. Okay? And so this auto refresh, basically what's happening is you got real-time quotes coming in. It's going to update every 5 seconds. Okay, so you can watch your position, 5 seconds live, so to speak. So, this black dot and everything else will change depending on what's changing with the modeling and everything like that based on prices coming in. Okay.
One suggestion I have, and I don't know if it's possible, is every time you enter the matrix, it keeps shifting your time, not your time scale, your price scale, depending on implied volatility of what you're looking at. It would be nice if you could actually have a fixed scale on that so that you can actually have a better gauge for the risk in your position. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and this is some. Let me see if this was. I believe this was one of the. Was this one of the new ones? If you set the. I'm just going through my list here. Max projection day. We talked about that. I believe it was one of, and this is a good time to go to this now. We're going to go to help. And then this is always a cool place you can go to. You can go to help, and then you can go to release notes. So you can see all the latest features going all the way back pretty far. And again, that was under help and then release notes. So there's some new shortcut keys or hotkeys here that you can check out. You can also now, if you're creating a new account, you can say the account I'm on, duplicate the current account settings. And you can also duplicate a T-log if you wanted to. So you can create a duplicate of your account and the settings as well. So this was some of the new things that came here as well. There's the one I was talking about. So the graphic analysis now remembers your horizontal axis setting for the rest of the day. So if you set up your horizontal axis for the day, it'll stay that way for the entire day.
Is that true when you're back trading as well?
As backtracking as well, correct, yep. So if you go in and backtrack, so basically what you can do, if you wanted to set up the interval differently, you could right-click here and change the interval to, whatever you want to, 5, for instance, and say OK. And then it's going to stay that way for the rest of the day.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's good. That would be very helpful. Yep.
Yeah, that's a new one as well. So the other thing that I wanted to touch on was the ability to, really isolate positions. Of course, you can, in the T-log, give your positions, A, B, C, or D. Just for instance, if you were looking at, 6 different positions that you wanted to keep track of. So just say you have, 3 butterflies going on right now, and, one 44 days out, one 60 days out, one 75, whatever. You could name each of those trade A, trade B, trade C, and then you're going to be able to look at those in whatever combination, all of them together, each of them individually. The other thing you can do is if you have that position, and let me just convert these so that I can demonstrate this really quick. I'm going to go into my T-log, and then we'll just say A, and then we'll give these a B. Okay, so now I've got this new, there it is. I have this new drop down here, okay? And so now I'm looking at my Condor I have expiring in 8 days, and then I have this other one expiring a week out, okay? So this would be A. I click on that and say apply. Now it's just looking at this position. But what's also cool, you don't necessarily always need to do that. You could always just click on this right here. And you look at down at the very bottom left, you'll see the summary is going to change when I click on now I'm just looking at this position. Now I'm just looking at that one.
Okay. In the past, I've had problems doing that with the profit and loss being way off. Have they corrected that?
As far as I haven't heard of that, so I'm not sure. Let me know if you do come across that again. But I haven't heard of that before.
Because I haven't done that since I've upgraded. But if you were to do this, for example, and you go through some trades and you make some adjustments and you have everything in there, and you put it on A, you'll get the correct profit and loss and everything. But if I just clicked the column, it would have the profit and loss is just wacko.
Let me. I'll test that out myself and
okay.
report it if it's still an issue. I'm just making a note.
So just 2 comments while you're making a note. They're just asking if you would provide a dark background Windows like Thinkorswim has, which is interesting because most people complain about my dark background in Thinkorswim, but so other people like it. And also it would be nice to have the R column in the matrix. Oh, that's interesting.
That is. Sorry, I'm still taking some notes.
That's okay. I know. I can hear you writing. And just another comment. One thing that's a little bit of a pain is when reviewing a trade and you pick a letter, say A, when you go through the next day, then it has both A and B back on again, right? And I've experienced that as well. And you have to then deselect the letters again. So every time you move a time frame or a day, you have to come back in and isolate A again. So it's just another couple of mouse clicks, I guess. I don't know if it still does that. But.
Yeah, I'll test that too. Yeah, all these things just take me a couple minutes to test. I'll do that, and then I'll report it if. And you guys remember, I mean, if you see this kind of stuff, squeaky wheels get the grease over here. So let us know what you're seeing, or even shoot me an email. That's even the best way. That way it's documented, and I can share it and look at it myself as well. So yeah, any suggestions or problems you guys see like that, let me know. Lun's always looking to, you can tell by the amount of releases he puts out, he's always trying to do fixes and add features. So
that's James.Hogan, right? James.Hogan at
no, James, it's just, yeah, either one will work. James.Hogan work, but it's also just James at OptionVue now. James at OptionVue.com will work. Yep. The other thing you can do, besides just this is, you can also click on the options tab here. You can do the call side or the put side, or both. So
interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yep, you can do that, calls, puts, or both. The other thing you can do is if you hold down the control key, you can also select different ones as well.
Oh, super. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so that's something different as well. The other thing that I think you guys will be excited about coming is we are now going to have a new trade ID concept. Basically, there's going to be a new field in the T-log where you can name your trade. And basically you can name that trade Butterfly Campaign 1 or whatever you want to. So it's going to be a nice long field. It's not like the R column where you just use one letter or one number. It's going to be a nice trade ID thing.
That'll allow you to trade more trades in one account, right? Which would be pretty good.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that would be very nice. Just a comment here. Does exclude-include positions work in a back trader mode?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, good. Excellent. And can you hide a series?
Yeah, that's going to become, you can do that currently. I mean, basically what you would do, I don't necessarily hide it or delete it, but that's the define button here. This is, where you go to options here. If you wanted to get rid of one, and again, we're storing to existing asset files, so, if you want it back again, if you're doing that in backtesting, you'd have to go ahead and add it back in. But if there's some things you're not ever going to be looking at while you're doing your backtest, you can just come in here and start deleting, some of these things. Some of these explorations if you want to. But yeah, that's a new feature that's going to come out that's going to make that whole concept a lot easier. I think there was another one of you guys, John, that asked me for a days in trade um, kind of a field, and that's finally coming out next month as well. So if you go to status or reports, there's going to be a column here that says days in trade. So you
Nice.
can see exactly how many days you were in that trade or you have been in that trade if you're looking at unrealized. Um, that was the first time I ever got that request, but that's coming. Len said that would be pretty easy to do.
Cool. Yeah,
Um,
all this stuff is very helpful and makes things go more quickly, so that's great.
Yep, exactly. So let's see, what else did I want to touch on? I touched on basically all those are the real new things coming out. Let me see. Did that. Okay, yeah, and the other, another thing. So this is kind of, there's a lot more things up here now than there used to be before. So you can always check for an upgrade. You can go right to our, basically online OptionVue manual right here. I use this a lot. I'm going to click on this just to pull it up here, and you can see this is our user's guide. Sometimes I'll get questions that I forgot the answers to, and you can type in anything related to OptionVue, and it'll pull up a bunch of different topics you could possibly want to know about that. Okay.
Okay, great.
So this is a really, really useful
I'm sure it is. We have to get used
resource.
to reading instructions, so I think a lot of us just try and do it without,
Try
without
it,
reading the
yeah.
instructions.
I think I saw somebody do this one time. I'm going to try that. Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is I get a lot, default models. People that first start out with OptionVue, Len has it in his mind that the default should be a certain way, no matter how much we argue with him. But he's always got slippage set to small. Do you teach people with small or none, John?
We use none. We use
Okay.
none.
I highly, as soon as I talk to somebody, I say change it to none because they'll right away say I have a position on and Thinkorswim and I have a position on an OptionVue, and it's just not the same. And this is 9 times out of 10 it's because they have slippage on. And basically with no slippage on, you're just looking at a pure market price like you'd be looking at your broker. As far as the option price in the Yates, it's basically a Black-Scholes. He takes into account the possibility of early expiration of American style options. That's what that does. So Yates is fine to use. I know you like to have people use the combined call put skews on.
Right. Yep.
Yep. And then that's pretty much the only thing that I talk to with people about here. Another thing that'll have to happen a lot though is sometimes somebody will call and it takes a little bit if we're not able to look over your shoulder and see your screen, but things will be way off, and oftentimes for some reason or somehow this got clicked. Okay, so you can change the model that you're looking at down here pretty easily, and oftentimes I'll be looking over someone's shoulder and I say, what's going on? I have the same position on that you have. Why isn't it working out? And it's because the model got changed down here. Okay, you want to make sure
Right.
it's on the variable.
I also see a new one down there called manual skew.
Yeah, that's something you'll never want to mess with.
Okay, I was just curious what that was. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I've never actually gotten it to work, and it's just because I'm on this version of OptionVue. Um, the let's see what else we can talk about here.
I have a couple of questions if you want to hit those,
Sure, absolutely, please.
or suggestions. So, I've had problems using OptionVue on my laptop. Whenever the laptop comes out of sleep mode, the connection to TOS breaks down. I usually end up needing to restart both apps to get the things working. I was wondering if there's any improvements in that area. He says, I also struggle with data entry, the slow response to keystrokes to update the matrix. I know that's a big one there as far as trying to input the thing when the data is live. It kind of drives you crazy because you keep hitting the keys and nothing happens. So.
Yeah, you know what? I've seen that. I've seen that too. I know they've tried to address it. I'm just making another note to see where they're at with that. But yeah, I've seen that too. Just when I'm looking over someone's shoulder and trying to give them a demo and they're using TOS data, I'll sit there and I'll be in the trying to type a trade, and I'll hit it 4 times, 3 times before it actually takes the number I'm putting in like that. So I'll find out. I'll look into that and see if they're doing anything more with that. A quick fix, if you really want to type something in there really quick, just double click up here, boom, boom, put your things in and then unclick it. That's just the quickest way to get it to work immediately,
Right.
is
Yeah.
to just freeze those quotes real quick and then it works. But I'll look into that more as well. And I'll follow, John. I'll follow up with all of these suggestions slash problems people are having in an email when I find out.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And let's see, another one. Please remind me of how to preserve a custom-defined option series. When I'm trading X
Yeah,
or 5 strikes, it only persists for the time that the matrix is open. What
yep,
am I missing?
yep. Uncheck this. So whatever
Oh,
changes you make, boom, that's done. It's saved. So basically what happens when you close this and reopen it and auto strike is enabled, OptionVue is basically just kind of going off of your default settings and also looking at where the RUT is going to open that day. And so it's just going to shift everything around. It's going to make changes. But if you make changes in here and you want them to stay, uncheck this box. That is the trick.
okay, great, great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I says, when I hide the ribbon, the accounts drop-down is obscured. Will this be fixed? Oh, okay. So if you hide the upper ribbon, you can't even get the accounts drop-down
Switch
on it.
between accounts. Good. I'm jotting that one down too.
Yeah, that would make things a lot easier if you could see at least that one. Yeah, nice. I know I had a little trouble actually finding my accounts ribbon when I first transferred over to OptionVue 8 because it has to be in the home uh, tab or whatever. So
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't see that one before.
yeah, that is a good one actually. I think that would be very helpful.
Let's see, what else can I share with you guys here?
I
Oh,
know.
the other. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh no, I was just going to ask a question since you didn't have anything
Oh,
else.
please.
Talk about. It's in the past. If you change the amount of strikes that are available in the matrix, it generally changes your Greeks around. I'm assuming
Hmm.
it still does that, and I just want to let people be aware of that. If they're back testing with a certain number of options, they should probably uh, keep that number of options when they're actually live trading.
Exactly. Yep. And that's funny because I remember I used to get questions like that all the time. Like, I mean, we made some changes in option, and we're going a couple years back here, John. But I remember people calling up saying, "I'm back testing John's strategy, and I can't get the same numbers he's getting. My delta's not the same." And we'd go in and we'd say, "Okay, well, you got to make sure that you have things defined, like John had when he was back testing, because that changes everything. It really does, even if it's just so slightly." And then even, now, because there's been, modeling changes and things like that, you're not going to be able to go back, to a back test that was done, 3 years ago and get the exact same results. They're going to be a little bit different.
Right,
But
yeah, because there has been modeling shifts, yeah, so I think that's important to say as well. Now, does including or not including the weekly cycles, in other words, if you don't include a cycle, will that include your Greeks, or is it just the distance between, or is it just the number of options strike in a particular
no,
cycle?
it will affect it as well. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So yeah, so you're going to want to make sure you do have some weeklies in there. You don't have to have 8. And it's going to be, things are going to be a little bit different too now that, people are going to be able to say, I'm trading this far, I'm trading, 45 days out. I don't want to look at all of these weeklies to get my symbols down. So that's something else people are going to have to be careful of, and making sure that they're, aware of that. If you're going to start eliminating, different series so that you're getting your symbol limit down, it's going to slightly affect your Greeks for sure.
Okay, and then Ray McCarty's just commenting on that, and he said that's why hide the series rather than eliminate the series might be a good
So you can't,
option.
so you're not seeing it. I see what you're saying. Let me make a note and see if there's going to be something, because he is, like I said, he's doing some work on this next month. So I'm going to
Yeah,
make a
that's
note.
that's really
Hide
interesting,
series.
a really interesting point, Ray. So yeah, so that way you can actually trade with all the series in there, or you back test with all the series in there, and you don't necessarily have to see them. So
Have to
that's
see them. Sure. Yep, absolutely. Um, what other questions do you get, John, from some of the new
well.
ones?
I have a couple more here, so that we
Okay.
can actually go with here. Although I just goofed up and I lost my track of where I was. Okay, so When I have only one position on per account, is it necessary to put the R in the T-log field?
Yeah, no, it's if you're only doing, if you have one condor on and then you take it off and then you put another one on, that's where you're going to want to, maybe use the R column. If you have, kind of if you just have one condor on and then you're rolling it or making adjustments, that's fine. And make sure all those positions are closed before you open up your next condor. Then you don't have to use the R column. But if you are having multiple, strategies, the same strategy but in multiple expirations, you definitely want to keep those trades separate. Otherwise, no, you don't.
Right, yeah, yeah, and I think generally it tracks your profit and loss, but if you take a whole position off and reposition it, sometimes it loses it, or it seems to. So if you're going to do something like that, I'd probably just take the time and mark it with R's just to be safe, to make sure everything.
Yeah, then you can just mark everything with an R. I mean, it's one extra step. It's worth it.
Right. So the question is, does OptionVue handle the Monday and Wednesday weeklies?
No, not yet. And I know it's a programming nightmare for Len to do this. It's going to add so many more expirations when we have so many already. I know we get it all the time, so I know it's something that he's looking into addressing and figuring it out, but currently you cannot do it. One of the other reasons, besides the fact that it's going to take a lot of programming in OptionVue, but our current data provider doesn't provide those quotes yet either. I know TOS and everybody has them, but so there's a couple other things that have to come and fall into place before, we start getting those. But hopefully it's sooner than later, because, we're missing all that storage of that data in our backtrader database. So,
Right.
I...
And I was talking to Len about that, and they're just saying that there's so many symbols in SPX that even the data they have now, they're having trouble dealing with the raw amount of data that they have, and that's why things sometimes are a little bit slow. But adding two more cycles isn't going to help a whole lot, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like I said, we do get questions about it all the time, so I know it's always in his on his slate of things to figure out how to get it to work and how to do it. And hopefully, it's sooner than later here.
Right, because you're going to have to do it eventually, obviously. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. So it says my Analyze tab partially covers my probability of profit window on the lower left. So how do you fix it?
When he's doing side-by-side?
I don't even know what probability of profit is. It says my Analyze tab partially covers my probability of profit window on the lower left.
I'm wondering, is that even? Let me just try something else here real quick.
One more, if you want to try and clarify that would be good.
Yeah, it's got to be just in the straight Analyze button, because then you have if you click on over here, then you're going to get a probability of profit. I'm guessing that this is what he's talking about over here.
Possibly, yeah. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Bell curve on yours isn't like mine. He said yes. That's what he's talking about.
So a bell curve like that. If you're on T+0, that's one thing to remember. You're not going to have any probability of profit because there's no time for it to make a prediction. But if you click on any of these other lines, you should have probability of profits. I know you said something was covering it up, but James at OptionVue.com, if you want to send me a screenshot of what you're looking at, maybe I'd be able to help better.
Okay, yeah, he said yes, okay. So we'll go with that. There's just another comment here. It seems, yeah, you're going to have to update the SPX thing. Is there an ATA for fixing the side-by-side Analyze graph that isn't updating?
I believe it should have been fixed in this latest release. So if you're not on 8.03, make sure you are. Let's just look at the release notes again here real quick so that I can double check that was one of these things here, and it's going to be down towards the bottom of this here. Problem fixes are always at the bottom. When using TOS or IB live quotes, the side-by-side analysis will open. The program is regularly recalculating analysis, even if the auto-refresh was unchecked. Is this what you were talking about? I'm not sure if that's what he meant as far as the problem fixes.
Let me see if I can get anything. No, that's not what he meant.
Okay.
So, yeah, you probably, if there's an issue, I guess maybe email you directly, right? Because as far as you know, there is no issue.
Yeah, as far as I know, correct.
Okay. All right, so might it be possible to have the original price column, 1 be first price, 2 be average price, 3 be last price? This will help when touching a strike more than once in a campaign.
So you would want that in the, like in the report section?
Might it be possible to have the original price column be number 1 first price, number 2 average price, number 3 last price? This will help when touching a strike more than once in the campaign. He said matrix column.
Original, last, and...
When converting a trade or changing accounts, the side-by-side does not update.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay, I'm glad you do, because I
let me
don't.
make a note of that. Side. Yeah, I can test that out too and let them know as well. That's pretty easy. Okay, original price. Let me just open up the parameter, one of these parameter boxes here. So you got original price, but you also want to see
First price, average price, last price. Original price is LIFO or last in display.
You know what? Have them send me an email describing
Yeah.
that a little better as well. That way, I can get my head around that more and relay that to Len.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think a lot of these suggestions are not going to be difficult. It's just, if I have them, in an email where I can, print them out, test them out, track them, and then these guys meet for tech meetings every Tuesday. So, I just usually what I do is I always compile a little list of suggestions I've gotten for the week or 2 weeks, and I'll, make sure Jim Graham or one of the tech guys brings it in there.
Okay, fantastic. Very good. And let's see, what else do we have here? Can the box that shows your number of lines keep moving around the graph? Can we keep it in one place?
Okay, let me write that down. What it does is it's trying to find the space with the most area. So you know what I mean. So if we were, had a, I don't know what I want to call it. If this trade was reversed, then this box would be, probably up here, equivalent, kitty corners. But basically what it tries to do is it tries to move around to try to give you the most area for it. I wrote that down as a suggestion, see if you can, if they want to say, hey, I don't care what my position looks like, I always want to have it, in the upper left-hand corner or something like that. So I'll put that suggestion in. And I made a note of that one already too.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Anything else coming in?
I think that's it. That's actually all we have for questions. If I missed one, please retype it, because this question box in GoToMeeting is very hard to read sometimes. So, but yeah, I think that's all we have for questions as of right now. I don't know if you have anything else. I don't think I have any other questions.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I know that I didn't want to come in and just do, okay, this is how you enter a trade, because I knew we were going to be dealing with, people that have been using Option, we've seen OptionVue and whatnot, so I kind of wanted to really focus on what questions, your people had, what I thought would be helpful, and then also, just let people know to any suggestions or problems they're seeing to let me know. It's way, and I know a lot, we've got tech guys here, but a lot of times they get busy. They may be on the phone with somebody that's got an issue for 45 minutes, something like that. And if you have a problem, oftentimes even if tech support's not available, you can talk to me or Jeff. If we can't help you, at least we can see the problem duplicated, and hope possibly be able to give you a call back with a solution, or make sure the tech guys are aware of it and get right on it.
Okay. I do have another just comment coming in, and I actually have something too I'd like to suggest. Okay. But did anyone address the issue of after putting in an adjustment, the gain-loss number goes crazy? And the Greeks never go crazy, by the way. So in other words, you'd make an adjustment, the gain-loss and the Greeks will be way off, and you actually have to open the T-log and close it again or something like that in order to get it back to normal.
I've not heard of that one.
Oh, you haven't? Okay. That's been doing that for a while. I guess nobody's ever complained about it, which I'm surprised.
Okay. So it's when making an adjustment, then things get out of whack, but then you'll have to usually close and reopen.
Right. So I'll make an adjustment, we'll convert it, and your profit and loss will be way off, your Greeks will be way off, and they'll correct themselves if you shift time frames, or they'll correct themselves if, and the way that I found to do it is you open the T-log and close it again, and it just goes back to normal. And that's, I mean, it's an irritant for sure. It happens pretty much regularly.
I was making a note of that too. I'm glad we did this. I'm going to be able to take a lot of things to the table with these guys and hopefully get fixed.
Right, right. Yeah, so Ray's just saying if he sends you a Jing email, a Jing type of screenshot, can you send a short demo video about the issue? And I'm sure that you're probably willing to do that. And I
Oh,
would
absolutely.
just address that in the email to him, Ray, so he remembers. Um, okay, great. So my thing that I'm having is
Uh-huh.
a lot of people now have been gaining, there's been a lot of interest in watching the options skew graphs. And the options skew graphs or the volatility vertical skew graphs in OptionVue, well, they kind of stink.
Yep.
Making an improvement on that would be really good. And as far as the way it is right now, it just shows at the money,
Yep.
and it doesn't, and there's only a really small picture. You can't manipulate anything. It would be really nice if you could not only again, get a nice big picture of that and show where the strikes actually are, but also be able to overlay yesterday's or the days before skew curve with today's skew curve, so that we can compare how things change over time. You can actually do that in Interactive Brokers if you have access to that platform. You can't do it in Thinkorswim. You can see the active skew chart, but you can't overlay it from another day. But that type of stuff is very, very nice.
Yeah, I'm making a note. I've gotten questions like that before, and maybe I think it'd be nice for Len to take a look at IB to see that. We have the data. I mean, it's not like it's just a matter of pulling that data and then him designing something to display it.
Right.
That's a
Live
fantastic.
X has a good one too. Yeah, Live
Yep.
X has a
Yep.
good one too.
That's a fantastic suggestion. I've been getting that more and more. People want to see, that skew of a particular strike or strike range or and
Right.
whatnot.
Well, one of my students, Kevin Lee, has been doing a lot of videos on capital discussions about skews and how to analyze them. So obviously everybody's interested in it all of a sudden. So.
Yep. That's how it works. Yeah. No, but that would be a fantastic addition to OptionVue. I agree with that. I take advantage of those skews all the time.
Sure. Yeah, it it's a lot of good information to have, but the problem is if you look at a little chart, it's not very readable, and you can't really do a whole lot with it. So.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and that's all I have. I don't see any other questions here. But,
Okay. Well, yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that we're always available for you guys if you have questions. I mean, we might call up and say, hey, I want to look over your shoulder. You go to help, and then you go to remote support. More oftentimes than not, we're able to get in and look over your shoulder. It just makes the explanation of the problem you're having or suggestion you have a lot easier for us to get to the bottom of.
right, and I'd also like to say, too, that I think when we actually bring up a problem to you, in general, you've been very responsive to it, particularly lately. And a lot of the times when people complain about something, you guys don't even know about it. In other words, nobody's told you. So just like this profit and loss thing we just talked about today.
Yeah, I mean, Ken and Dave might have heard about it, but I mean, the amount of time and things that they, might get lost in the shuffle sometimes with them. Whereas, Jeff and I on the, being on the, sales side, support side, we'll bring this up at a different angle too, so it might even help get it resolved quicker. So, like I said before, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So don't hesitate to let me know if you're seeing an issue or, if you're not getting a response from tech support on a problem that you've, asked about maybe a week ago or whatever. I have no problem, bringing it up to these guys and saying, hey, what's going on with this? Where are we at? Just to let you know that's, something I want to be a part of too.
Right, fantastic. I just wanted to make that a point because there's no point sitting there getting angry and not saying anything. So.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, hey, we do better when you guys are happy, so please let me know if you need anything.
Right, right. Awesome. Well, okay, did the issue of the latest release not, yeah, and this is another issue too that we'll talk about, but did the issue with the latest release of not working with Dropbox get resolved? And actually, David, there is a way to make it work with Dropbox, but if you call tech support, they could probably help you with that, but they don't recommend it. But what are your comments on that, James?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's I've been steering, those Dropbox and things like that to Dave or Ken. Those guys are on the front lines with getting that kind of stuff worked out. The other thing, so I'm not. I'll ask Dave if there's anything that he's heard about that. The other thing that, kind of something, an issue we had when we first released OptionVue 8, which is really weird, is we've been having a really hard time, not a hard time, it's just a process of getting registered with all of these antivirus and security software that people have. I know
Right.
just this week, I mean, we were whitelisted with Norton, a month ago, and now all of a sudden people are calling up and Norton's removing OptionVue 8 from their computers, and so we had to go back to Norton. They're like, oh, sorry, I don't know, we don't know why that happened, and now they're putting us back on the list. So that's another thing, because we're such it's such a small software company. It's not like there's a million downloads every 6 months. So we have to go and register with all of those guys a lot. So bear with us as we try to get up to speed with Norton, or Kaspersky was another hard one that we had a problem with. So, but just if you see that any of those security issues, give us a call right away, and the tech guys can get on it for you right away.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. It's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And just an by the way, when is this new release scheduled to come out?
The ones that Lena's saying, this is what to look forward to next month. So I'm not sure how far it is, but it's usually not more than 3 weeks before Len wants to put a new release out. If he's got these already, he's already typing these out in email. I mean, he's got these things coming up. So I would say within the next 3 weeks you'll see it.
Okay, fantastic. And I haven't updated to 8.03 yet, so I have to do that myself.
Sure. Well, I enjoy
right.
doing this, John. I mean, anytime, I don't think, once a month or something like that, or once every other month, whatever you think would be good to get together with your guys that are using OptionVue to share what I know, and you guys can let me know what you're seeing, what your experience, and what you'd like to see in OptionVue.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate you having you on, and you get a lot of thank yous here in the comments section. So, we really appreciate it, and I hope it was helpful for you. I know it was helpful for me.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.